Chapter 208. Everyone returned back to Leisure Bar, and Qing Yutong and Yizizi began a new round of game. Dong Huangli had long fallen asleep in Yihua's embrace. She is just a child, after all. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, she would still need to sleep. As for the Green and Red brothers, they were temporarily acting as the security of Leisure Bar. However, right now, the Green and Red brothers were a little excited. Within the bedroom, Yihua placed Dong Huangli onto his bed, then lightly covered her with a blanket. How can this little guy be so adorable? Qinya sat on the sofa at the side and looked at her husband's gentle movements. I bought a doll and hugged it to sleep, and he even said that other than me, no other things can appear on the bed. This seems to be what he said before they went to Sanya. And now, Li was added into the mix. Although I don't suggest it, Yihua's strange actions made me very worried. Yihua, come over here, I have something to talk to you about. Qinya couldn't bear it anymore. I have to get to the bottom of this matter. Yihua shushed Qinya, then signaled Qinya to lower her voice and not disturb the child's sleep. Slowly getting up, Yihua walked over to Qinya's side. Stretching out his hand, Yihua hugged onto Qinya's slender waist and directly kissed onto Qinya's waist. It has been a few hours since I last kissed her, I really miss her. However, this time, Yihua didn't succeed and kissed Qinya's palm. What's wrong? Yihua asked puzzledly. Pouting her lips, Qinya said softly, after you came back today, you have been very abnormal. Yihua was startled. Was my behavior that obvious? How is it abnormal? A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth, and his hand quietly slipped into Qinya's clothes. Qinya grabbed onto the hand that was doing evil. Stop messing around. I'm being serious here. Be serious. Yihua let out a light sigh. All right, what do you want to ask? Are you hiding something from me? Qinya stared fixedly at Yihua, not having the intention to joke around. Yihua was also looking at Qinya. Should I tell her right now? Or should he wait for a period of time and let her get along with Ollie? How could that be? Yihua said, then pulled Qinya into his embrace. Qinya did not struggle as she hugged onto Yihua and said in a low voice, Yihua, I like you, but don't lie to me, okay? Yihua's heart thumped. If Ollie's mother had a brain, she would definitely come looking for him. It was only a matter of time before the two of them met. Only God knew what kind of situation it would cause. He did like surprises, but he didn't like this kind of surprise. But he had already said it. How could he deny it? Slapping my own face, now, he could only brace himself and go forward. Yes. When the first lie was told, there would be even more lies to cover up that lie, and in the end, everything would be a lie. This was the human nature that Yihua had experienced. Qinya suddenly hugged onto Yihua, pushed him onto the sofa, and kissed him ferociously. I, the Supreme Overlord, am becoming more and more fond of this woman. In order to prevent her from feeling sad, I actually lied to her. Uncle, Auntie, are you thirsty? Ali will get you some water. Unknowingly, Dong Huangli was already standing beside the two of them, and her eyes were wide open. The uncle and the auntie were actually sucking on each other as if they were very hungry. Moreover, the uncle's hands were under the auntie's clothes. The auntie must be feeling a little itchy and the uncle was helping her to stop the itch. The two of them turned their heads around and looked towards Dong Huangli, then immediately separated from each other. In front of a child, it was best to pay attention to one's image. Ollie, why aren't you sleeping anymore? Qinya's mood was very good as she asked while hugging onto Dong Huangli. Dong Huangli rubbed her big eyes and yawned. Ollie woke up when I heard the smacking sounds. Smacking sounds. Qinya pinched onto Yihua petulantly. It's all your fault. Women are just so unreasonable. You are obviously the one who pushed me down and touched me all over my body. Ollie, what does Ollie want to eat tonight? Chinya immediately changed the topic. When a child hears about food, they would be more excited than anything else. I don't know, Chinya said. Ollie, do you want to eat crayfish? Crayfish are very delicious. Really? Of course, Uncle likes to eat crayfish too, whatever Uncle likes. Ollie likes to eat too. Dong Huang Li's smile was about to blossom. Although this place is much smaller than my mother's place, everyone here is very concerned about me. Yi Hua immediately stood up. All right. Let's eat crayfish tonight. Ollie likes crayfish, Chinya laughed helplessly. I feel that my suggestion just now was just asking for trouble. At Voidless Realm that was a few thousand miles away. Dong Huang Baiji was sitting on the throne in the palace, and 8 elders were standing respectfully below her. How many days has it been? Where is he? Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly, and an austere aura immediately erupted out. Xing Han took a step forward. Your Majesty, His Highness has the protection of the Dong Huang family, he will definitely be fine. Your Majesty, please calm down. The search area is gradually expanding, and we will definitely be able to find His Highness and bring him back safely. Yuan De no longer dared to recklessly give the Empress any ideas. The warning that he gave the Empress last time was very clear. Dong Huang Baiji's heart was burning with anxiety. These few days, she couldn't sleep at all. Whenever she closed her eyes, she would be able to hear Ali's laughter. I will give you all 3 more days, if you all still can't find him. You all can do as you see fit. Your Majesty. Subordinate still has one more thing to report. He Xian walked out and said gravely. Dong Huang Baiji waved her hand impatiently. Speak. Ying family sent over a message, they want us to give them an explanation, otherwise, Dong Huang Baiji's beautiful eyes turned cold, or else what? Otherwise, I will not rest until I die. All right. Let's see how the Ying family will fight to the death. The ominous glint in Dong Huang Baiji's eyes became more and more intense. Her face was filled with frost, and a terrifying aura swept out from her. Yes. The 8 elders knelt and obeyed. Dong Huang Baiji disappeared from the throne and arrived at Dong Huang Li's courtyard. Right now, Ali's joyful voice could no longer be heard from Dong Huang Baiji's courtyard, and Dong Huang Baiji couldn't even see Ali happily running out from the courtyard, hugging onto Dong Huang Baiji and acting coquettishly towards Dong Huang Baiji. Sitting in the courtyard's pavilion, Dong Huang Baiji was quietly pondering. The people outside are all sinister, and Ali is still so young. Although Ali had learned some defensive techniques, he would still be in danger. If I get caught and sold by the human traffickers, wouldn't that mean? Thinking up to here, Dong Huang Baiji was filled with regret. Dong Huang Baiji clenched her fists tightly. If Ali had suffered any grievances outside, I will definitely exterminate his entire family. Dong Huang Baiji also knew that it would be very difficult to find Ali. After all, the world was so big, and finding a person was like finding a needle in a haystack. It was all his fault. If she hadn't heard the news about him, she wouldn't have been so abnormal. It's fine if he injured me, but now, even my child is missing. This bastard, this bastard. Dong Huang Baiji fiercely smashed onto the stone table, and the entire stone table turned into dust. Dong Huang Baiji had treated the stone table as Yi Hua, and she really wanted to smack the stone table to death. Suddenly. Chapter 209. No matter if I am going to look for him or not, I have to go and take a look, and teach that stinky man a lesson. Thinking up to here, Dong Huang Baiji returned to her bedroom, changed into a white dress, then disappeared from Voidless Realm. Dong Huang Baiji didn't tell anyone that she was going out. After all, she was going to look for a heartless person. What's the point of teaching him a lesson? If he kneels down and admits that he was blind back then, for Ali's sake, she can bring him back to Voidless Realm to take care of him. After all, Ali needs a father's love, and sometimes, Ali would call for her father even in her dreams. Yi Hua, who was in Leisure Bar, probably didn't expect that Dong Huang Baiji had already come to look for him. I thought that it would take a while. Dark clouds gradually drifted over from the sky of Long An City, covering the entire city. Seems like a storm is coming. Seeing such weather, the people on the streets hurriedly went home to avoid being drenched by the rain. Meanwhile, on the second floor of Leisure Bar, everyone was currently enjoying the delicacy brought by the crayfish. Yi Hua, eat the crayfish. Uncle, eat the crayfish. Brother-in-law, eat the crayfish. Big brother, eat the crayfish. Yi Hua was like a master as he enjoyed this special treatment. As expected, my child doesn't need to be taught. He took the initiative to peel the crayfish for me, so sensible. Seeing that everyone was peeling the crayfish for Yi Hua, Ali also began peeling the crayfish for Yi Hua. She wasn't very fast to begin with, peeling a crayfish would take at least 2 to 3 minutes. Even so, she still persisted. This little fellow is more sensible than other children. If only my child was half as sensible as Ali, that would be great. Alright, Ali, you can eat by yourself, and can peel the crayfish for uncle. Qingye smiled tenderly. When Dong Wangli was peeling the crayfish, she said seriously, "No, uncle is good to Ali. Ali has to be good to uncle too." Qing Yutong said with a smile, "Ali is so obedient." He, of course. Dong Wangli was very proud as she placed the crayfish in Yi Hua's bowl. Although only a little bit of the crayfish was left, Yi Hua was still very touched. My daughter peeled the crayfish. Seeing that my child was so sensible, Yi Hua was also very gratified. However, he still had to say, "Ali, in the future, you can only peel the crayfish for uncle, you cannot peel the crayfish for other people. And Ali will listen to uncle." Right now, Dong Wangli was completely obedient. Qingye glared at Yi Hua, "Ali, in the future, you have to peel prawns for your husband too, just like Aunt." "Is that so?" Dong Wangli Tian asked. Yi Hua's expression immediately sunk. Even if someone is going to peel it, it should be a man who peels it for Ali. Qingye was unconvinced, and said tenderly, "Then why don't you peel the prawns for me?" As if feeling the resentment in Dong Huang Baiji's heart, the rainstorm instantly poured down. Dong Huang Baiji slowly walked towards Leisure Bar. Every single step she took was very difficult for her, because she was facing the truth that she did not dare to face in the past. The violent rainwater split apart above Dong Huang Baiji's head and was blocked by an invisible force. Walking to the entrance of Leisure Bar, Dong Huang Baiji slowly turned around and raised her head to look at the signboard. This kind of feeling was as if she had returned to that day, returned to those few days and nights. Today, I will put an end to this resentment. Yi Hua. Today, you must give me an explanation. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, Dong Huang Baiji walked into the bar. The inside of the bar was still the same as before, just that there were a few more paintings. Compared to the past, the business of the bar was a lot more bleak. Dong Huang Baiji sat on the same position as before. She did not order any drinks and just waited quietly. Yi Hua. If you have the guts, then don't come down today. He is still as heartless as before. The red and green brothers who were on duty also saw Dong Huang Baiji. I have no choice but to look, there is only a single customer in the entire bar, this is too miserable. Big brother, this woman is as beautiful as the lady boss. Little brother Red said in a low voice. Big brother Green nodded his head, although she is as beautiful as the lady boss, her temperament is too arrogant. I still feel that the lady boss is better, she is gentle. Little brother Red let out a sigh. Big brother, do you think that this beauty is here to look for the boss? Because even though I am so far away from her, I can still feel her resentment. Big Brother Green wrinkled his brows and observed for a while. If she is really here to look for the boss, then the boss is finished. What are you two talking about? What boss is finished? Wei Chang came out from the back of the bar after changing his clothes. Big Brother Green pointed at Dong Huang Baiji. There is a woman here, the very beautiful kind. Chapter 210. The Green and Red brothers looked at each other in disbelief. Could it be that they were really here to look for the boss? Oh my God, the boss was too amazing. He already had such a beautiful lady boss, and now he had another one. Moreover, it was the super arrogant version of the lady boss. Amazing. Just watch. Don't act rashly. Wei Chang said solemnly. It seemed that this was the truth. Ali was the child of this woman. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come here. But this was too fast. Ali had just arrived in the morning, and it was only nightfall when her mother came to find her. Dong Huang Baiji had already been looking for her daughter for more than 10 days. Furthermore, the reason why she came here was not only to look for her daughter, but also to settle old scores with Yi Hua. Right now, Wei Chang was just like an ant on a hot pot. If the madam were to know about this matter, she would definitely fall out with his honor again. His honor's temper isn't that good. When the time comes, his honor won't be able to control himself. No. I still have to call Lai Gu over to suppress the situation. Don't let his honor go berserk, if not, everyone would be out of luck. Thinking of here, Wei Chang immediately contacted Lai Gu. Right now, Lai Gu was currently enjoying the delicacies made by his 3 wives. When he heard what Wei Chang said, the food in his mouth sprayed out and he immediately rushed over. What's going on? What's going on? Lai Gu secretly looked over. At this moment, the feeling of the scene was very strong. Forehead stretched out, arranged vertically. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji, Lai Gu swallowed his saliva. Back then, I was lying in my bedroom and saw His Honor bringing Dong Huang Baiji into my room. I didn't expect that after 3 years, this woman had become more and more arrogant. His Honor's eyesight is truly sinister. The women that he finds are all different from the masses. Retracting his head, Lai Gu asked nervously, "What should we do?" "How would I know what to do?" Wei Chang said in frustration. The two of them suddenly looked at the Green and Red brothers. The Green and Red brothers were startled. "Don't look at us like that, I don't even know them." At this time, Tang Wei also changed her clothes and walked over. She asked curiously, "What happened to you guys? What are you all standing here for?" "Xiao Tang, you can go back first today." Wei Chang decided to coax Tang Wei back. Who knows what will happen if His Honor gets angry. Tang Wei was very puzzled, but when she saw Uncle Wei and Lai Gu's sunken face, she knew that something bad must have happened. "All right, I'll go back first. Uncle Wei, if there's any situation, just give me a call, don't make me worry." Tang Wei was still very obedient. She knew that there were some things that she shouldn't participate in. Wei Chang nodded. Lai Gu's brows were tightly wrinkled, and after a while, he said, "Let's tie her up." "Are you crazy? She is Little Overlord's mother. We all have to call her madam now. Do you want to offend your superiors?" Wei Chang coldly shouted. Lai Gu scratched onto his hair and said gloomily, "Then, what do you think we should do? His Honor is really something. Why didn't he wear a condom? Gluttonous monster, you must remember to wear a condom." Wei Chang touched the condom in his pocket and sighed. He had always been prepared, but he never had the chance to use it. "How about this, I'll go and probe first. Maybe it's not what we think," Wei Chang said in a low voice, even though he didn't believe his own words. Lai Gu nodded his head. "This is the only way." Wei Chang tidied up his clothes, then walked straight towards Dong Huang Baiji. When Dong Wang Baiji saw Wei Chang walking over, there was not much expression on her face. It's still this man, madam, would you like something to drink? Wei Chang squeezed out a smile. Dong Wang Baiji said faintly, what? Pretending not to know me. Oh, so it's you. I'm getting old and my memory is getting worse. Although Wei Chang's performance was a little exaggerated, his words were exquisite and there were no loopholes. Dong Wang Baiji looked at Wei Chang and said, you're still the same. Yes, madam, you are becoming more and more beautiful. He remembered that 3 years ago, this security guard was not so talkative. It seemed that 3 years was enough to change a person. Seeing that Dong Wang Baiji did not speak anymore, Wei Chang asked with a smile, may I ask why you came here this time? Our goals are the same. It's over. Wei Chang's heart sunk. As expected, they are here to look for his honor. Dong Wang Baiji continued, you go and tell him. He could choose not to come down. But I will burn this bar down. Damn, this madam's temper is much better than Madame Qinya's, burning things for no reason at all. Did these chairs and tables offend you? Indeed, Dong Wang Baiji felt that everything here was an eyesore. Wei Chang walked back and shook his head towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu heaved a heavy sigh. Right now, the Green and Red brothers' brains were in a state of blank out. Your Honor. Madam. Little Sovereign. Ali's mother. The amount of information was too much. The woman outside was Ali's mother, and the boss was Ali's father, but Ali's father had another woman. Were they trying to catch a mistress? Second floor. Dong Wangli rubbed onto her round belly and said, Uncle, Ali is so full. Yihua pinched onto his daughter's little nose and said with a smile, who asked Ali to eat so much? It's delicious. Dong Wangli was enjoying Yihua's caress very much. It was fortunate that Dong Wang Baiji didn't immediately rush over. If not, if she were to see how happy this family was, she would definitely run away even faster than Yihua. While I am worrying about all kinds of things in Voidless Realm, the two of you are eating and drinking to your heart's content and laughing happily here. Have you ever thought about the feelings of others? Fortunately, all of this didn't happen. Yihua could be considered to be quite lucky. Just when Yihua wanted to say something to Qinya, he received a message from Wei Chang in his mind, and his brows immediately wrinkled. Your Honor. Something big has happened. Wei Chang. What did I teach you? Don't panic in the face of danger. No matter how big the matter is, I am here. Your Honor. This was no ordinary matter. That woman came. After hearing that, Yihua went into a daze. This surprise came too quickly, right? What the fuck, I am panicking right now. She came. So fast. Yihua, what happened to you? Are you feeling unwell? Qinya asked with concern. Yihua was still fine just a moment ago, and yet, he suddenly changed. Yihua revealed out a smile that was even uglier than crying. I'm fine, I just recalled an unhappy matter. Uncle Yi, Ali will dance for you, then you will be happy. Qin Yutong laughed. Wow, Ali knows how to dance. I often dance for mother to see and make mother happy. After speaking, Dong Huangli walked to the side. The so-called dance that Dong Huangli was talking about was just twisting her small body. However, it was still quite decent, and everyone who saw it couldn't help but laugh. Just that, Yihua didn't have the slightest bit of mood right now. Originally, I wanted to let Qinya and Ali interact with each other for a period of time to nurture their relationship. Although I guessed that Ali might come, I didn't expect that she would come so quickly. Qinya, bring Ali to wash her face, there are oil stains on the corner of her mouth. Yihua said faintly. He decided to send Qinya away first, then go and meet Ali by himself. Chinya was completely unaware that a woman had come to look for her downstairs. With a smile on her face, she carried Ollie. Ollie, let's go and wash our face. Ha, there are oil stains on Aunt Ching's mouth too. Poof, Chinya directly kissed Dong Huangli. Not to be outdone, Dong Huangli kissed onto Chinya's cheek, then laughed loudly. After the two left, Yihua stood up and said gravely, I'm going down to smoke a cigarette. Qin Yutong sensed that something was wrong with her brother-in-law. Meanwhile, Yihua gave Yizizi an order to stop Chinya from going downstairs. Chapter 2:11. Dong Huang Baiji closed her beautiful eyes and waited quietly. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps came from the staircase. Of course, he would not forget this voice. That night, he also came down like this and directly walked up to him to invite him. He was so drunk that he actually fell for this bastard's trick. But he came down. He really came down. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly became nervous. Just what is this damnable man trying to do? If you have the ability, then don't come down. Just as heartless as before. Yihua's gaze was deep as he stared at the back figure that was not far away from him. It was exactly the same as back then. Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. Yihua wasn't in a hurry to meet with Chinya, and he was currently worried about Chinya. When did I become so timid? I'm almost not like myself anymore. In any case, I'm going to meet her sooner or later. Don't tell me that I'm going to hide this woman away. Since she has the fortune to be pregnant with my bloodline, I will reluctantly accept it. I will talk to Chinya about it when the time comes. Wei Chang and Lai Gu, as well as the Green and Red brothers, were hiding at the side and secretly watching. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were also feeling extremely nervous in their hearts. Who exactly is the mistress? While smoking, Yihua slowly walked forward, then sat down and looked at the woman in front of him. She had changed. Compared to 3 years ago, she had become even more mature and arrogant. Fortunately, she had changed into the type that his honor liked, or else it would be really hard for him to accept her. Dong Huang Baiji was also sizing up the man who she had not seen for 3 years. He did not change at all, there was not a single expression on his face, and when he looked at everyone, it was as if he was looking at an ant. Furthermore, he still loves to smoke. It was this man who wanted her for an entire night. She did not rest for an entire night. After she fainted, she was woken up by him again. It was an endless cycle. Even when she woke up in the morning, he did not care for her at all. He even said that he did not want to see her again. He did not even say his name. Yihua, I trust you have been well since we last met. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. Yihua slightly wrinkled his brows. How do you know my name? Suddenly, he thought of the hot pot restaurant. Could it be that she was secretly spying on him? Thinking about it, there was really such a possibility. Ali appeared yesterday, and she arrived today. However, why did she want to change the shop assistant? It was an unnecessary move. Dong Huang Baiji snorted, in actuality, I don't want to know your name, just hearing it makes me uncomfortable. Look, how could such a woman not be trained? Even Chinya wasn't as arrogant as her back then. However, when he thought about how she was the child's mother and how she had been wandering outside for 3 years, even if she didn't make any contributions, she had worked hard. He didn't want to lecture her now. There would be opportunities in the future to change her. I also know the reason why you came here. Yihua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly, and in an instant, she looked incredibly beautiful. Tell me, why did I come here? I also know that you have suffered. Since you are here, it means that you have not forgotten me. In that case, I will let bygones be bygones. From now on, be my woman. The mouths of the 4 people who were hiding at the back were shaped into an O shape. There's nothing wrong with what His Honor said, especially that last sentence. From now on, just be my woman. Too domineering. Too manly. Any woman would have to submit to these words. Wei Chang and Big Brother Green immediately took out a small notebook and wrote it down. It would definitely be useful in the future. Ha! Ha ha ha! Dong Huang Baiji laughed out loud, as if she had heard the funniest thing in the world. He is actually willing to let bygones be bygones. How dare you say this empress came for him? He even wants this empress to be his woman. I didn't expect that he is still so narcissistic, to think that he is the only man left in the world. But why didn't you say such words back then? Perhaps our family of 3 wouldn't have been separated then. What are you laughing at? Yihua asked coldly. Dong Huang Baiji kept away her smile and said coldly, I'm laughing at your stupidity. Immediately, a fierce aura erupted out from Yihua's body. Don't think that you are my woman. You can talk back to me. There was a difference between Dong Huang Baiji and Qingya. Qingya was unable to resist, but Dong Huang Baiji was able to resist. A fierce aura erupted out from Dong Huang Baiji's body, and the 2 auras collided violently, causing all of the chairs in the surroundings to be blown away. Wei Chang felt his heart aching. When the time comes, I will have to clean up the place myself. Your woman. Yihua. Your tone is still as big as before. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out. At the same time, she was also very surprised at Yihua's strength. To actually be on par with me. Yihua was also rather surprised. This woman's strength is not bad, no wonder she is so rude and unreasonable. It's a pity that you don't know anything about my strength. You are still as arrogant as before. What are you 2 doing? A voice rang out from the staircase, causing Yihua's heart to sink. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a look. As expected, this woman matches my taste. However, what I feel even more in my heart is unconvinced. Qingya had just heard some noises coming from downstairs, and while ignoring Yi Zizi's obstruction, she walked down the stairs. Chapter 212. How did you know? Qingya's expression became grave. This woman is not simple. Let me finish speaking first. After pausing for a moment, Dong Huang Baiji continued, that day, your mood was definitely not good, am I right? Qingya's expression changed slightly, then nodded her head. After that, he appeared and told you some crooked reasoning, and you followed him up the stairs muddle-headedly. As for what happened after that, I don't think I need to say any more, right? Hearing till here, Qingya's expression changed greatly. She immediately looked towards Yihua, as if she was saying, how did she know everything? Yihua smoked his cigarette and did not reply. His expression did not look good. He wanted to refute, but he was powerless to refute. Because everything that she said was correct, other than that crooked reasoning, it was obviously the correct reasoning. Furthermore, you all did it willingly. When did I force you? Did I place a knife on your neck, or was I going to exterminate your entire family? But no matter how she argued, what she said was true. Seeing that Yihua did not reply, Qingya asked with a sunken face, how did you know? Because I am the same as you, I was also tricked by him to go upstairs. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly, but her gaze was fixedly staring at Yihua, this heartless man. Qingya took in a breath of cold air. Her brain was buzzing, and she immediately felt that the world was spinning. After a long time, Qingya mumbled towards Yihua, is what she said true? Yihua took a puff of his cigarette, then nodded his head and said, she is the first woman that I told you about. Qingya found it hard to believe. Back then, Yihua indeed told me that there was another woman before me, but I didn't expect that it was her. But I am Yihua's legal wife. You only had a one-night stand with my man. Although Qingye thought that way, she still felt uncomfortable in her heart. What exactly do you mean? Qingye questioned Dong Huang Baiji. Since she is Yihua's past lover, then I shall just get rid of her. Dong Huang Baiji appeared to be much calmer. After all, when she heard that Yihua had a wife, she had already calmed down. Wait, I haven't finished speaking. This was a contest between two intelligent women. Although Qingye didn't possess powerful strength, right now, her imposing manner wasn't any weaker than Dong Huang Baiji's. Right now, Qingye was giving off the impression that no one should even think about snatching away my husband. Say it. I want to hear what nonsense you can come up with. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, Qingye, don't be nervous, the reason why I came here today is not because of you. If it was possible, I actually didn't want to come here. Right now, Qingye was even more puzzled. This woman really doesn't play her cards according to the routine, causing me to be unable to make a move. Also, how did she know his name? Alright, back to business. After that night, the two of you didn't contact each other until you found out that you were pregnant. That's when you came to find him. Dong Huang Baiji's words caused Qingye to be shocked once again, and her face was filled with disbelief. Dong Huang Baiji knows everything. Was he being monitored? In actuality, what I want to know is, how many days did you wait for him before he went downstairs? Dong Huang Baiji asked the question that she was most concerned about. Recently, his daughter had gone missing. Other than worrying about his daughter's safety, he was also troubled by this problem. If he didn't get to the bottom of it, he wouldn't be able to die in peace. Qingye didn't understand why Dong Huang Baiji would ask this question, but she still said, 3 days. Hearing Qingye's reply, Dong Huang Baiji suddenly laughed miserably. 3 days. He only waited for 3 days. Yihua. Why are you so cruel to me, but so doting on her? I, Dong Huang Baiji, refuse to accept this. Are you done laughing? Yihua shouted gravely. This woman really needs to be taught a lesson. Look at how she is acting, how improper. Dong Huang Baiji didn't pay attention to Yihua and continued, Qingye, do you know how many days I waited for him? Qingye shook her head blankly. They actually still have more to say. I waited for him for half a month. Half a month. And I was even chased out every night. He just sat upstairs, not caring about me at all. Do you know how I felt back then? Did I want to die? Dong Huang Baiji was no longer able to suppress the torment in her heart and roared out. At this moment, she wasn't an empress, and she wasn't a mother either. She was just a woman who was abandoned by a cruel man. Qingye didn't expect such a situation, because she never heard from Yihua that this woman came to look for him. And Yihua only found out from Wei Chang recently that this woman came to look for him. Back then, his emotions weren't very stable, which was why he didn't meet with her. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen suddenly standing up, pointing at Yihua and shouting out, Yihua. Let me ask you, why did you go downstairs 3 days after she was pregnant? You ignored my pregnancy. Why? Yihua didn't expect that this woman would have such a huge grievance. This was something that was unexpected, but as my woman. Can't you speak properly with this kind of attitude? Yihua's temper was also starting to get a bit out of control. Can you speak properly? Yihua said coldly. I can't. Dong Huang Baiji was an empress, and she was worshipped by people every day, thus, her aura was not ordinary. Right now, Qingye was stupefied. She was pregnant just like me. 3 years ago. The child is probably already 3 years old, right? Right now, Qingye completely didn't know what to do. The expressions of the 4 people who were hiding at the side and peeking at the scene were complicated. Chapter 213. Wei Chang and Lai Gu were already sweating profusely, while Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red had an, as expected, look on their faces. Qing Yutong's body became unstable, and she immediately rolled down the stairs. When she lost her balance, she pulled Yizizi along with her, and in the end, the two of them rolled down the stairs with a stupefied look on their faces. So awkward, we were discovered eavesdropping. Should we hide and continue eavesdropping? When Dong Wang Baiji heard this familiar voice, hot tears immediately flowed down from her eyes. Ollie, mother. Although Dong Wangli was angry at her mother, she still missed her mother after not seeing her for more than 10 days. Dong Wangli could be seen pouncing into her mother's embrace, then said with a childish voice, "Mother, Ollie misses you." While hugging onto her daughter, Dong Wang Baiji's heart ached. "Ollie, mother has let you down." "Ollie doesn't blame mother, don't cry." Dong Wangli shouted out sweetly, then stretched out her little hand to wipe off her mother's tears. Right now, Qingya's face was pale, as if she had lost her soul. "Ollie's mother is actually me. Then, Yi Hua, he is Ollie's father. No wonder he came back so hurriedly. No wonder he is so protective of Ollie. So he already knew that Ollie is my child." Qingya's heart was crushed by Yi Hua's lies, and even breathing became incomparably difficult. The current Yi Hua looks so unfamiliar to me. Just a few hours ago, I even asked him if he lied to me, and he said that he didn't. Then what is he doing now? Yi Hua. I am also a human, I have my own pride, why did you lie to me? Dong Wangli still didn't know what the current situation was. She held on to her mother's hand and said with a smile, "Mother, this is Aunt Qing, she treats Ollie very well. Also, this is Uncle Yi, he even treated Ollie to a big meal today. There are also Uncle Green and Uncle Red." Big Brother Green and Little Brother Red, who were hiding at the side, immediately shrunk back. "Little ancestor, this isn't the time to talk about this, can't you see that your daddy is panicking right now? Ollie, come home with mother." Right now, Dong Wang Baiji didn't want to think about anything else, she just wanted to go home with her daughter and watch her grow up. Dong Wangli seemed to be a bit scared as she said in a low voice, "Mother, Ollie wants to play with Uncle Yi. Your Uncle Yi is not a good person, Ollie, don't be deceived by him." Hearing that her daughter was actually getting so close to Yi Hua, Dong Wang Baiji's arrogance rose once again. This time, Yi Hua exploded. With a slap onto the table, the entire table immediately turned into dust. "You, what is your name?" Yi Hua didn't even know how to start scolding. The child is already so big, and yet, he actually doesn't even know what this woman's name is. Dong Wangli hurriedly said, "Uncle Yi, mother didn't do it on purpose, also, mother's name is Baiji, her surname is the same as Ollie's." "Ollie, don't speak," Dong Wang Baiji said gravely. Immediately, little Ollie shrunk his head. Right now, Yi Hua finally knew the other party's name. Dong Wang Baiji, right. Ollie is my bloodline. You don't have the qualifications to take her away. Yi Hua's tone was filled with an unquestionable tone, and this caused Qingya, who was silent at the side, to feel even more heartbroken. She didn't expect that the man she found was the same as her father. Dong Wang Baiji was stupefied, and she asked curiously, "Yi Hua, now you know that you want a child. What did you do back then? Do you even have the qualifications to be Ollie's father? If I don't have the qualifications, who the hell does?" Yi Hua couldn't help but curse out. His voice was so loud that it caused the entire bar to tremble slightly. This meant that the current Yi Hua had somewhat stabilized. Dong Wangli, who was being carried in Yi Hua's embrace, felt dizzy. "Uncle Yi seems to have become my father." "Mother, didn't you say that father died? Why did he come back to life?" Dong Wangli asked curiously with her eyes opened wide. Thinking about it, Yi Hua became angry. "Dong Wang Baiji, you actually cursed me to die. The moment you abandoned me, to me, you were already dead." Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly. Daddy, hug. Dong Huangli didn't feel sad at all, on the contrary, she seemed to be very happy. To begin with, I liked Uncle Yi a lot, and now that Uncle Yi has become a daddy, he will be able to love me for the rest of my life. However, Dong Huang Baiji felt very uncomfortable when she heard Dong Huang Baiji's words. She said lightly, Ali, be obedient and listen to mother. Let's leave this place, mother will always accompany Ali, alright? No. I want daddy. Upon hearing that she was going to leave her daddy, Dong Huangli became anxious. Although Dong Huang Baiji was hugging onto Dong Huangli's bosom, Dong Huangli's hands were stretched towards Yihua. The power of bloodline was incomparable. He had raised it for almost 3 years, but it could not even compare to a few days. Dong Huang Baiji was unable to imagine that her daughter would be so disobedient. Then, Dong Huangli raised her hand and slapped onto Dong Huangli's butt. Dong Huangli immediately started crying. Yihua was enraged. My daughter is not someone that you can hit. I can't even bear to beat him up. A surge of righteous energy rushed towards Dong Huang Baiji, causing the latter's expression to change. With a slight movement of her hand, a golden barrier appeared in front of her. However, the daughter that was in Yihua's embrace suddenly disappeared, and Yihua who was not far away could be seen hugging onto his daughter. This made Dong Huang Baiji extremely shocked. How could the golden barrier be able to withstand Yihua's aura? Immediately, the golden barrier broke apart and rushed towards Dong Huang Baiji. Dong Huang Baiji was greatly startled. She didn't expect that this man would be so powerful. Bang! But he still couldn't block it. His entire body flew backward, smashing into the bar counter and leaving a dent. Everyone was dumbfounded. His honor actually hit a woman. Furthermore, the woman that he hit is his child's mother. If news of this were to spread out, it would definitely become a scandal. His honor is too awesome, even I don't dare to hit my wife like this. Lai Gu sighed. In the future, I must learn from his honor's move. If someone is disobedient, I will hit them until they are obedient. Big Brother Green said in a low voice, that's right, all of the men in our village are afraid of their wives. Boss is too awesome, I am waiting for my idol. That's right, Big Brother. I have decided. In the future, I must learn from boss and try to hit my wife as soon as possible. Not bad, you comprehend very quickly. Big Brother Green patted onto his little brother's shoulder. Qing Yutong and Yizizi who were at the side were also extremely shocked, especially Qing Yutong, who covered her mouth with both of her hands. My God, brother-in-law actually hit his wife, so scary. My God, Big Brother is too inhumane. Yihua looked towards Dong Huang Baiji coldly, then consoled Dong Huangli who was in his embrace. Ali, don't cry. Woo-woo, daddy, don't hit mommy. Domestic violence. A solid hammer. Seeing how wrong the little fellow was, Yihua hurriedly coaxed, alright, daddy won't hit mommy. Ali, don't cry, okay? Dong Huang Baiji's expression was gloomy as she slowly walked out of the room. She was completely fine, not even a speck of dust could be seen on her body. In actuality, Yihua was still steady when he hit Dong Huang Baiji. He was only teaching her a lesson, if not, how could he have been able to hit Dong Huang Baiji so easily? Chapter 2:14. Mama, don't hit Papa, or Ali will have no Papa again. Without waiting for Dong Huang Baiji to act, Dong Huangli started crying loudly. No matter how Yihua coaxed her, it was useless. Ali is just a jinx, no matter where he goes, he will make others angry, no matter where he goes, he will bring harm to others. Wah! Ali looked up to the sky and cried, as if everyone in the world hated her. Her cries were heartbreaking. Dong Huang Baiji gradually returned to normal. There was nothing more important than having a child. Just when Dong Huang Baiji was about to coax her daughter, Dong Huang Li's petite body immediately emitted out an astonishing bloodline fluctuation, and along with the sound of crying, her bloodline was about to erupt. Yi Hua was greatly startled. I didn't expect that the bloodline in my daughter's body would go out of control. Yi Hua immediately suppressed it. If it were to explode, I reckon that the entire Long An city would be leveled to the ground. In the future, I still have to teach Ali how to control the power of my bloodline. Caressing his daughter who was in deep sleep, Yi Hua lightly wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes. What did you do to my daughter? Dong Huang Baiji thought that Yi Hua did something bad to her daughter, and immediately, a sharp sword appeared in her hand. This woman actually dared to use her sword against me. His left hand turned into a palm, and a formless power controlled Dong Huang Baiji in the sky. Soon after, Dong Huang Baiji clenched his fist. Dong Huang Baiji's face was deathly pale as she lightly landed onto the ground. The spiritual energy within her body was actually sealed. How did he do it? Yi Hua carried on to Ali who was in deep sleep and said coldly, seeing that you are Ali's mother, I will let you off this time. But from now on, do your part, or don't blame me for teaching you a lesson again. You bastard. The pale and powerless Dong Huang Baiji stretched out her fist and punched towards Yi Hua. With a slight dodge, Dong Huang Baiji missed her target and knocked onto the table. Dong Huang Baiji tightly wrinkled her brows. So painful. Qinya stood up, did not cry nor did she make a fuss, and walked towards the stairs. Qin Yutong hurriedly followed behind her big sister. Don't let her big sister do anything stupid. Seeing Qinya like this, Yi Hua had no choice but to say, Wei Chong. Leisure bar will be temporarily closed for this period of time. With a wave of his hand, a blue halo enveloped the entire bar, and it was exactly the same move that he used against Qinya back then. Wei Chong said solemnly, Yes, boss. Looking at her daughter being carried up the stairs by Yi Hua, Dong Huang Baiji ignored the pain on her body and rushed towards Yi Hua. You damned bastard, return my daughter to me. Just that, before he could even touch Yi Hua's body, he crashed into the air wall and fell onto the ground. Yi Hua turned his head around and said faintly, Dong Huang Baiji. Tonight, you should rest downstairs and reflect on how to be a good mother, how to be a virtuous wife. Look at your attitude and actions tonight. You've made me lose face. Wei Chong and Big Brother Green started taking notes. There's nothing wrong with what His Honor said, it's domineering. This was how a man should be. Big Brother Green had never seen such an awesome man before. He could even teach such a beautiful woman a lesson. As expected of his boss. Yi Zizi looked at Madame Dong Huang Baiji with a smile. Your wonderful life has just begun, Yi Hua. You bastard, return Ali to me. Dong Huang Baiji stood up once again and chased after Yi Hua. However, Dong Huang Baiji was blocked by an air wall. Although Leisure Bar was under martial law, Yi Hua intentionally gave Dong Huang Baiji a small cell, and locked her in the lounge of Leisure Bar. While pounding on the invisible wall, Dong Huang Baiji couldn't help but cry. She slowly slid down from the wall and sat on the ground powerlessly. Dong Huang Baiji mumbled, Return Ali to me, return Ali to me. Wei Chong and Lai Gu sighed. You shouldn't have touched His Honor's angry face. Aren't you just looking for trouble? It's good that you are fine, I will go back first. Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Madame Qinya didn't get angry, if not, it would be even more difficult to clean up the mess. Wei Chong was a bit worried about Madame Qinya's situation. Just now, Madame Qinya did not say anything, but it was precisely because of this that Madame Qinya was not willing to say anything. From this, it could be seen that His Honor had deeply hurt Madame Qinya. However, from His Honor's point of view, there was nothing wrong with what he did. It was all the fault of human nature, and it had to take the blame. Why are you two still standing there? Do you want to get involved in the boss's family affairs? The green and red brothers hurriedly shook their heads. How would they dare to do that? Go back with me then. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then took a look at Dong Huang Baiji, who was sitting on the ground. Seems like His Honor is planning to do a long-term training job. As a subordinate, it is better for me not to do this kind of thing. After finished speaking, Wei Chang brought the two brothers and left, returning back to the rented house. Tang Wei nearly jumped up from her seat. Opportunities are already few to begin with, and you even brought along 2 light bulbs, and it's even a traffic light. Uncle Wei, do you really want to do that with me or not? I am so angry. On the other side, Yihua carried Dong Huangli and stood outside of the bedroom, thinking about how to deal with Qinya. I reckon that Qinya is currently packing up her clothes. After all, I didn't hear any sounds of things being smashed. Brother-in-law, you are finished. Qin Yutong walked over quietly and said unhappily. How is your big sister? Yihua asked in a low voice. Qin Yutong shook her head. She is very abnormal. I have never seen big sister like this before. Brother-in-law, you take care of yourself. I am going to go and play games. What kind of F***king situation is this, and you are still thinking about playing games? Aren't you going to help me think of a way? Taking a deep breath, Yihua opened the door and entered the bedroom. Yihua immediately froze. The bedroom was very clean, and there was no suitcase to be found either. Only the light in the bathroom was still on. For Qinya to still have the mood to take a bath, it seems like things are going to be settled. Qinya is still the sensible one. She knows how to think from my point of view. Unlike that Dong Huang Baiji who doesn't have any manners at all, she is too lacking. My daughter has already been snatched away. What kind of manners do I still need? If Yihua were to see how Dong Huang Baiji looks like when she is wearing the dragon pattern purple gown, the supreme overlord, like this kind of arrogant woman. Lightly placing his daughter onto the bed, Yihua revealed out a smile that a father should have. This little fellow's nose is so cute. Bang! The bathroom door was opened, and Yihua turned his head around, then said with a light smile, Qinya, your performance today made me rather surprised. After speaking, Yihua wanted to hug onto Qinya. Yihua. Qinya slightly dodged away and said lightly. Don't worry, I won't leave. Qinya's tone was very indifferent, and this caused Yihua to feel that the situation wasn't good. Yihua held on to Qinya's hand and said slowly, of course you won't leave. This time, Qinya didn't dodge away from Yihua's hand and said, Yihua, do you still remember the promise that we made back then? Yihua's hand stopped, then slowly raised his head and looked at Qinya. What do you mean by this? You helped me get rid of the engagement, and I will fulfill my promise. How about this? I don't owe you anything, and you don't owe me anything either. Yihua suddenly stood up and shouted out gravely, Are you crazy? What do you mean by owe me anything? Could it be that you are still thinking about that bullshit promise right now? I only want you. Chapter 2:15. Yihua's chest heaved up and down violently as he let go of Qinya's hand, then said coldly, Even if you don't want it, you have to. In the future, I will go to your office to rest. I won't disturb your family reunion. Qinya. Can't you be a little more rational? Qinya turned around with a ferocious expression and shouted in a low voice, I'm very rational right now. If I wasn't rational, I would have already gone mad. Yihua remained silent as he watched Qinya pick up the quilt and walk towards the office. Bang! You even used quite a bit of strength to close the door. If you break the door, you won't be able to pay for it in your entire life. These two women. Not a single one of them can make me worry, and each one is more awesome than the other. You brought this upon yourselves. I, the Supreme Overlord, can only act forcefully and lock you up for life. Don't even think about going anywhere. Looking at his daughter who was lying on the bed, Yihua stretched out his hand and lightly stroked onto Dong Huangli's forehead. My daughter is still the most obedient. Bang! 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 Sounds of smashing rang out from downstairs, and Yihua's expression became serious. This woman is starting to go crazy too. She pulled out a napkin, crumpled it into a ball, and stuffed it into her daughter's ear so she wouldn't be woken up by her crazy mother. Walking out of the bedroom, Yihua lit up a cigarette, then slowly walked downstairs. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen holding onto a chair and smashing it all over the place, causing the entire lounge to be in a complete mess. If Dong Huang Baiji was given a lighter, she would be able to light up this entire bar. While smoking the cigarette, Yihua silently looked at Dong Huang Baiji who was randomly smashing the cigarette. After all, I am feeling very uncomfortable in my heart, and I need to vent it out properly. You damned bastard. When Dong Huang Baiji saw that Yihua had arrived, she picked up the chair and ran towards Yihua, then ruthlessly smashed it towards Yihua. Unfortunately, she was blocked by the air wall. Yihua knew that she would be blocked by the air wall, and thus, he stood beside the air wall, as if he was visiting a prisoner. It has been a few minutes since I closed the bar, but it seems like your temper did not change at all. Yihua said faintly, then walked to the side of the shabby bar counter and poured a cup of wine. Continue, I will watch. While sipping on the wine, Yihua said lightly. Dong Huang Baiji placed down the chair that she was holding onto, then asked gravely, just what do you want? I've already said it. I don't want to repeat myself. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly, I can't do it. I don't expect you to be able to do it right now. Take your time, I have plenty of time. Yihua said faintly while fiddling with the wine cup in his hand. Dong Huang Baiji was angered to the point that her entire face turned red. Just by looking at his face, Dong Huang Baiji really wanted to scratch his face. Where's my Ollie? Don't worry, I'm sleeping upstairs. Dong Huang Baiji let out a breath of relief. As long as the child is fine, everything is fine. Dong Huang Baiji placed the chair properly and sat opposite of Yihua. There was an air wall between the two of them, but from the way they sat, it seemed as if they were discussing a deal. What do you want in order to let me and my child go? Dong Huang Baiji asked gravely. Yihua didn't answer this question. Instead, he asked, why did a flea come out alone? Dong Huang Baiji remained silent. I'm asking you a question. Yihua slammed onto the table and shouted. Dong Huang Baiji pouted her mouth, what does it have to do with you? Yihua was angered to the point of laughing. I have never seen such an irresponsible woman before. What kind of mother are you? If anything were to happen to a flea outside, I would have whipped you to death. If it wasn't for the Green and Red brothers, you wouldn't even know that a flea was sold. Yihua began teaching his daughter. I have no choice but to teach her. Look at that, I'm the number one in the world, look. Dong Huang Baiji originally wanted to retort back, but when she heard that her daughter was sold, she hurriedly asked, what happened? What happened to a flea? Everything is fine now, I have already dealt with it. However, have you ever thought about the consequences? It's fine for you to bear grudges against me, but how can you vent it on your child? Have you ever been a good mother for a day? Facing Yihua's accusation, Dong Huang Baiji was unable to refute. Because what Yihua said was right, I indeed didn't act as a good mother, and I even transferred my resentment onto my child. Have you ever been a good father for a day? At the very least, I did it today. Yihua said faintly. Have you ever been a good man? Yihua extinguished the cigarette and asked silently, are you still blaming me for not coming down to see you back then? Dong Huang Baiji could be seen snorting, back then, you said that I, Yihua, would never touch the same woman for a second time. You are a liar. Alright, this is not bad, I got slapped in the face. Seeing that Yi Hua remained silent, Dong Huang Baiji shouted out coldly, "Why aren't you speaking? Weren't you very talkative just now? Didn't you have a good time scolding me? I, Yi Hua, will lie to whoever I want to lie to, and I can even take back what I said earlier. I have long wanted to take back what I said earlier, just that I didn't have the chance to do so. I have never seen someone as shameless as you, to actually be able to take back what you said." Dong Huang Baiji was angered to the point where she started laughing. Yi Hua said coldly, "I'm shameless. Then why did you come and look for me? Isn't it because you can't forget about me? What is there to be embarrassed about? After all, I am indeed outstanding, and I can understand why you have such thoughts." After hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huang Baiji was stupefied. Soon after, she picked up a chair and smashed it onto Yi Hua. "Go and die. Who cares about you? I am here to look for my daughter, you shameless bastard." Yi Hua lit up another stick of cigarette, then asked faintly, "Do you still remember what you called me on that night 3 years ago?" Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze. "That night, Yi Hua. I am going to kill you, you bastard." After finished speaking, she became even more ferocious. Standing up, Yi Hua smoked his cigarette and walked towards the second floor. "Slowly smash me. When you have thought it through, I will let you go. You can go and die." Hearing Dong Huang Baiji's various curses, Yi Hua felt that the path of disciplining Dong Huang Baiji was still rather long. Arriving in front of the office, Yi Hua tried the door lock, and as expected, the door was locked from the inside. "Qinya, you are underestimating me too much." Bang! Yi Hua pushed open the door and entered the office. Qinya could be seen curled up on the sofa, and her delicate shoulders were slightly shaking. Qinya was crying. Seeing Qinya like this, Yi Hua felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Just yesterday, she was still acting coquettishly in my embrace, and yet today, walking to the side of the sofa, Yi Hua said faintly, "Qinya, I know that you are sad, but I have my own difficulties as well." Qinya did not say anything, and her back was facing Yi Hua. "All right, don't be angry, let's go back and sleep. Aren't you unable to sleep if you don't hug something?" Yi Hua poked onto Qinya's shoulder probingly. Qinya could be heard sobbing, "Yi Hua, I only have one request." Yi Hua felt very comfortable hearing Qinya's words. Yi Hua hurriedly said, "Don't say one, I will even agree to 100 requests. After the child is born, let me see him once a month, can you promise me that?" Qinya still did not turn her head around, seemingly like she did not want to see Yi Hua, and her tone became even more weak. Yi Hua became silent, then slowly stood up and asked, "Qinya, just what is wrong with you? Ali is my child, that Dong Huang Baiji can only be my woman." Chapter 216. I, the Supreme Overlord, have already lowered my status to persuade you. Look at those men from the big families, Xiao Yi, Tang Wushuang. All of them have many wives and concubines. I only have 2. Yi Hua was immediately unconvinced. Why is it that other people can have so many of them, and yet, I, the Supreme Overlord, only have 2 of them, and yet, I end up like this? Qinya snorted coldly, "Only 2? It seems like you still want to expand your harem." Bullshit. When did I say such a thing? If it wasn't for Ali, you would be the only woman in my life. Qinya still didn't turn her head around. "Yi Hua, I don't believe in your nonsense anymore. It's getting late, I want to rest, you can go out first." Yi Hua was very angry. I didn't expect that Qinya would be like this as well. Alright, this is all because of you too. Fine, but let me tell you this, Qinya, don't ever think about leaving me for the rest of your life. After finished speaking, Yi Hua opened the door and left. Yi Hua. You are a bastard. Liar. Qing Ya's curses could be heard coming from inside the house, and there were also various kinds of smashing sounds coming from downstairs. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. Should I go and look for that Xiao Yi and ask him for advice on how to make sure that all of my wives are safe and sound? After thinking about it, Yi Hua decided to forget about it. I, the Supreme Overlord, am such an outstanding man, yet I still have to go and seek help from others. If this matter were to spread out, where would my face be? Right now, I can only take things one step at a time. Arriving at Qing Yutong's room, Yi Hua opened the door and took a look. The back view of an adult and a child was engaged in a heated battle. The sister-in-law was fine too. She wanted to play games instead of the elder sister. Brother-in-law, do you want to play around? Qing Yutong turned her head around and shouted. Yi Hua, who was in a bad mood, walked into the door and turned on a machine. Qing Yutong laughed. Brother-in-law, my big sister isn't easy to deal with, right? Sigh, this time, not only did she ask for a divorce, even the children have been decided by her. Yi Hua said faintly. Yi Zizi smiled and said, eldest Biaoga, eldest cousin-in-law is just jealous. Just coax her a little and she will be fine. Zizi, you're right. My sister is just jealous. The more you coax her, the more pleased she will be. Qing Yutong began the path of selling out her sister. Oh. Yutong, tell me about it. If it works, this brother-in-law will reward you. Hearing that there was a reward, Qing Yutong immediately became excited. Brother-in-law, just do this. Ignore my sister for the next few days. Once you've aroused her interest, find an opportunity to spank her. I guarantee it will work. Qing Yutong wanted to drag her big sister into the pit as well. I have been beaten up by Yi Hua quite a few times, and I also want my big sister to be beaten up. Zizi also thinks so. Big cousin, believe us, we are women. Yi Hua nodded his head. Let's start a game first. Although he was playing a game, Yi Hua was still thinking about it. I'll try out my sister-in-law's method first. Perhaps it will really work. After playing for a while, Yi Hua returned to the bedroom and looked at his daughter who was sleeping soundly on the bed. Only Ali is my little cotton-padded jacket, and the others are all troublesome. After taking a shower, he held his daughter in his arms. Ali, who was sleeping, also hugged her father tightly, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. She even stuck out her little tongue and licked the corner of her mouth, as if she had eaten something good. It would be perfect if Qing Yo was by Dong Huang Baiji's side. As for Dong Huang Baiji, if she was able to learn even half of what Qing Yo was capable of, there would still be a spot for her on this bed. Otherwise, it would be impossible for me to let you get on my bed. Even if you begged me, it would be useless. Early morning. A ray of sunlight passed through the window and shone into the bedroom. Daddy, daddy, time to wake up. Hearing his daughter's call, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. Why doesn't Ali sleep for a while longer? Ali always wakes up very early because she needs to study. Daddy, don't you need to study? Yi Hua smiled. Daddy will teach Ali cultivation techniques in the future. Yay, Ali likes Daddy the most. After finished speaking, Ali kissed onto Yi Hua's cheek, causing Yi Hua to laugh out loud. This is the feeling of having a bloodline, causing me to feel so happy. Let's go, Daddy will bring Ali to eat Chinese jianbing. Yi Hua carried his daughter and got off the bed. Dong Huangli was confused. Daddy, what is Chinese jianbing? Ali will know when she sees it later on. However, right now, she needs to brush her teeth and wash her face first. And Ali knows how to brush her teeth and wash her face. Daddy, I will help you squeeze some toothpaste. At this moment, Yi Hua's heart was about to be turned upside down by little Ali. After the father and daughter pair finished washing up, they put on their clothes and walked out of the room. Daddy, I forgot to ask you, where did Mommy go? Dong Wangli was a bit embarrassed. After having a daddy, she nearly forgot about her mommy. Yihua said faintly, "Your mommy isn't willing to sleep with us, so she went downstairs to sleep." "Ah, how can mommy be like this? Mommy should be sleeping with daddy. My daughter is still the most sensible." When they walked downstairs, Yihua and Dong Wangli looked at the living room stupidly. Not a single chair in the living room was in good condition, and all of the paintings on the wall were torn and fell onto the ground. If Wei Chang were to see this scene, he would definitely go crazy. After all, those paintings were paintings that Wei Chang had collected for 5 years. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen lying on the ground and sleeping. Dong Wangli ran over and pushed her mother. "Mommy, wake up!" Dong Huang Baiji, who was in a daze, opened her eyes and looked at her daughter who was in front of her. Dong Huang Baiji immediately hugged her daughter tightly into her embrace. "Ollie, Mommy, why are you sleeping here? Why aren't you sleeping with Daddy?" Dong Wangli asked curiously. Dong Huang Baiji looked at her daughter and said tenderly, "Because Mommy doesn't like Daddy, so we can't sleep together." "If the two of you don't sleep together, how did Ollie come to be?" There was nothing wrong with what Dong Huang Baiji said. Even Yihua was amused by what Dong Huang Baiji said. "Ollie, you have to call me mother, you can't call me mommy." "No, Ollie has to call me mommy. Mommy sounds nice," Dong Wangli said coquettishly, causing Dong Huang Baiji to be helpless. Yihua felt that it was about time and shouted out lightly, "Ollie, Daddy will bring you to eat breakfast." Dong Wangli could be seen running into Yihua's embrace, causing Dong Huang Baiji to be stupefied. "Even my daughter has defected to the enemy. Mommy, let's go and eat breakfast together." Dong Wangli shouted towards her mother. Dong Huang Baiji didn't reply, because she knew that Yihua wouldn't let her off. "Let's go together then," Yihua said faintly. After finished speaking, Yihua brought Ollie and walked out of the house. Dong Huang Baiji touched the air wall, and found that the air wall was gone. Later on, I will carry my daughter and run. However, how many steps can I run? I will still be caught by Yihua. Letting out a sigh, Dong Huang Baiji followed after Yihua. At this moment, inside the office on the second floor, Qingye didn't sleep at all. Qingye was currently standing by the window and looking at the blue sky. Suddenly, she saw 3 figures appearing in the alleyway, and hot tears immediately flowed out of her eyes. "This liar, big liar. I will never forgive him in this life." Yihua naturally knew that Qingye was looking at them from above. This was also what Qingye's sister-in-law said. If not, why did he call Dong Huang Baiji out? To act cool. Chapter 217. Today, the auntie's business was very good. There was even a long queue of more than 10 people. When these 10+ people saw that Yihua was carrying a child, and there was even a woman that was as cold as ice following behind him, their eyeballs almost popped out. Empress's demeanor was promising. Dong Wangli seemed to be very shy when facing everyone's gaze, and she buried her head into Yihua's embrace. Such an action caused everyone to reveal out a smile. Dong Wangli is truly an adorable child. While hugging onto his daughter, Yihua stood at the end of the line and waited patiently. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows. As an empress, when had she ever queued up before, and everyone had to make way for her? Dong Huang Baiji could be seen walking straight towards the front of the group. However, before she even took a single step, Yihua said gravely, "What are you doing?" Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a glance at Yihua, seemingly as if she was asking, "Do you still need to queue up for such a thing? Come back." Yihua said faintly. This woman really doesn't have any quality at all, and she actually dares to cut the queue. If word of this were to spread out, I, the Supreme Overlord, would be losing face. In actuality, Yihua had also tried to cut the queue at the start. As a Supreme Overlord, how could he possibly line up with a bunch of humans? In the end, this auntie didn't give him any face and refused to do it. She had a bad temper. If it wasn't for the fragrance of your fruit pancake, I would have flipped the stall. Dong Wangli secretly shouted out, "Mommy, quickly come back, don't cut the queue." Dong Wang Baiji felt as if she had just received 100,000 damage. Not only was she taught a lesson by Yi Hua, her skills were inferior to Yi Hua's, and now, even her daughter has started to betray Dong Wang Baiji. Most of the people in the queue were boys, and they were rushing to work. But when they saw such a beauty, not to mention cutting the queue, they would do anything. "Beauty, I know you're in a hurry. I'll give my seat to you." Yes, it's not easy. These men, they can't move their eyes away when they see a beauty. Some girls despise this kind of man. If an ugly girl tried it, it would definitely not be like this. Even Dong Wangli felt embarrassed. "Mommy, quickly come back, we need to follow the order." "Look, even Ollie knows about this. What are you standing there foolishly for? Come over." Yi Hua shook his head. Even Qingya wouldn't do such a thing. Dong Wang Baiji's face was red from anger, and in an instant, her beauty was peerless. Even so, she didn't look embarrassed at all. She turned around like an empress with an extraordinary demeanor. Seeing how Dong Wang Baiji was able to act to such an extent, Yi Hua could be said to be convinced. "Look at how you behaved just now, how improper." Yi Hua began to teach Ling Lan. He had to start from the most basic aspect of being a person. Of course, Dong Wangli was going to speak up for her mommy. "Daddy, don't blame mommy. Mommy has always been living alone, and furthermore, she didn't go out at all. It's hard for her to not be sensible." Dong Wang Baiji, Yi Hua caressed onto his daughter's face. "Even Ali is more sensible than mommy, so obedient." Dong Wang Baiji almost couldn't hold herself back anymore. "This pair of father and daughter are teaming up to bully me, don't you think I'm angry?" If it wasn't for the fact that they were outside, he would have definitely scolded them. Endure it. Maintain the aura of an empress. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, it was finally Yi Hua's turn. The auntie had already seen Yi Hua long ago, and she was just curious as to why there was a little girl and another beautiful woman with him today. Just that, this beautiful woman looked very familiar. 6 fruit jianbing, one of them with eggs and sausages. Yi Hua said faintly while carrying his daughter. "Daddy, Ali also wants eggs and sausages." Right now, Dong Wangli wanted whatever her daddy wanted, and she wanted it as well. Yi Hua smiled faintly. "Is Ali able to eat all of them?" Dong Wangli rubbed onto her stomach, and Ali's stomach is able to contain all of them. "Two it is then," Yi Hua said to the auntie. The auntie that made the pancakes cried out in surprise. "I remember now. 3 years ago, you were standing here every morning." Dong Wang Baiji wrinkled her brows and didn't reply. Yi Hua and Dong Wangli immediately looked towards Dong Wang Baiji. "Mommy, were you peeping at Daddy?" Dong Wangli asked naively. A small knife stabbed onto Dong Wang Baiji's chest. "At the very least, you have been standing here for more than 10 days. The auntie added. Dong Wangli had a surprised look on her face. "Wow, so mommy secretly likes Daddy." Another small knife stabbed onto Dong Wang Baiji's chest. Right now, Dong Wang Baiji didn't feel good at all. "Back then, I was standing here because I was angry. I wasn't secretly in love." Yi Hua rubbed onto the child and said faintly, "Ali, it is normal for mommy to have this kind of reaction. After all, Daddy is indeed very attractive. And Daddy is the most handsome, mommy is even mesmerized by him." Stab. Dong Wang Baiji's heart was stabbed by an invisible knife. "Young man, is this your daughter?" the auntie asked curiously. Without waiting for Yi Hua to speak, Dong Wangli said with a smile, "Hello grandma, my name is Dong Wangli." He is my daddy, and she is my mommy. Young man, being fickle isn't a good thing. The auntie started preaching again. Yihua was only able to continue listening to the auntie's preaching. Of course, Yihua would refute the auntie's preaching, for example, right now, fickle. That doesn't exist, this is my new wife, the other one is currently sleeping at home. Chapter 2:18. Get out of here. Qingya roared. Her roar made everyone worried, but also made everyone's heart ache. Yihua had no choice but to leave with his brows creased while holding onto the piping hot fruit jianbing in his hand. Walking down the stairs, Donghuang Baizhi and Donghuang Li could be seen sitting together. The two of them were chatting and laughing. You feed me, I feed you. Ollie, come over. Yihua shouted faintly. Donghuang Li rushed into Yihua's embrace like a little bird. This made Donghuang Baizhi feel very jealous. Why is my daughter so clingy to daddy? She wasn't like this in the past. Reporting to daddy, Ollie is here. Yihua was very happy and said tenderly, Ollie, can you help daddy out? And go and pass this fruit jianbing to Aunt Qing. She is angry right now and doesn't want to eat it. Ollie's mission is to think of a way to make Aunt Qing eat it. Yihua felt sorry towards Qingya. Donghuang Li patted on her chest, Daddy, don't worry, Ollie will definitely make Aunt Qing eat it. And, go ahead. Donghuang Li took the fruit jianbing and ran to the second floor. Yihua let out a sigh of relief. I hope that Qingya won't be stubborn for the sake of the child. It is normal for her to be angry. I was also very angry back then and couldn't eat for a few days. Donghuang Baizhi said faintly while sitting like an empress. Yihua came to Donghuang Baizhi's side and sat beside her. He lit up a cigarette and said, Seems like you still can't forget about me. Why didn't you come and look for me after you got Ollie? Donghuang Baizhi sneered, I have my dignity too. I will take care of Ollie myself, you don't need to worry about me. Fortunately, my Ollie found me, otherwise, you will be in for a good time. Humph. Shameless man. Yihua said gravely, if you want to be locked up here forever, you can scold me however you want. You are a bastard. Bastard. Yihua's expression turned cold. He dragged Donghuang Baizhi over and placed her on his lap. Donghuang Baizhi's expression changed greatly. My spiritual power is sealed, I am just like an ordinary person, how can I be this man's opponent? What are you doing? Paw. Ah. Yihua slapped onto that perky buttocks and said gravely, Don't think that I don't dare to teach you a lesson, I heard that you made my daughter kneel on the keyboard. I'll make you kneel on the keyboard one day. Bastard, let me go. Donghuang Baizhi shouted out loudly. She could feel a burning sensation coming from her butt. This bastard is so heavy-handed. While smoking, Yihua raised and lowered his hand, Donghuang Baizhi, you better be clear about the facts. Since you are already here, you should properly be my woman and stop thinking about useless things. Scram. I will be your woman for the rest of my life. Donghuang Baizhi did not fear Yihua's threat and shouted out angrily. However, Yihua liked this kind of stubborn woman. If she were to admit defeat right away, it would be meaningless. Immediately, a symphony started ringing out in the hole. However, Donghuang Baizhi did not make a single sound and endured it. After a short while, Yihua gave up on this move, as it was useless against her. That's all for today. If you dare to offend your superiors again, I won't let you off lightly. Yihua. I hate you. Donghuang Baizhi shouted out coldly with red eyes. Back then, you were the one who was heartless, and now, you want to do this to me. Do you think that I, Donghuang Baizhi, am the kind of woman who comes and goes as you please? Looking at Yihua walking up the stairs, Donghuang Baiji tightly wrinkled her brows and touched her butt. So painful. Donghuang Li, who was walking up the stairs with a Chinese jinbing, stealthily opened the door and saw that Aunt Qing was lying on the sofa. Donghuang Li felt very sad in her heart. It's all my fault. If not, Daddy wouldn't have fallen out with Aunt Qing. Get out! Qingye shouted out coldly. Aunt Qing, it's me, Ollie. Donghuang Li was startled by Qingye and said with grievance. Qingye went into a daze, then turned her head around and looked towards the door. As expected, it was only little Ollie. Qingye said embarrassedly, Ollie, Aunt Qing didn't shout at you on purpose just now. Towards Donghuang Li, Qingye did not feel any resentment towards her. After all, children are innocent. Furthermore, I like Ollie, she is a very sensible little girl. Aunt Qing, I'm sorry, it was Ollie's appearance that made you and Daddy angry. The clever Donghuang Li began laying the groundwork. That pitiful expression on her face made it seem as if she had to take responsibility for everything that was wrong. Qingye tenderly hugged onto Donghuang Li, then said faintly, Ollie, this is not your fault, all of the faults are your daddy's fault. Donghuang Li stretched out her small hand and wiped away the tears that were at the corner of Qingye's eyes. Aunt Qing, Ollie still wants to apologize to you. Silly child, you did not do anything wrong, it is Aunt's own fault. Qingye squeezed out a trace of a smile. Donghuang Li pursed her small mouth. Aunt Qing, Daddy punished Mommy to sleep in the living room last night. In actuality, Donghuang Li understood that one shouldn't think that children are easy to be deceived. Hearing that, Qingye went into a daze for a moment. I thought that Daddy and Daddy would sleep together, but I didn't expect that they didn't. Yesterday, Daddy and Ollie slept together, and Daddy was even calling out Aunt Qing's name in his dreams. If Yihua were to hear what his daughter said, he would definitely shout out 666. As expected of my biological daughter, she knows how to help Daddy. Qingye didn't say anything, but it was clear that her expression was getting a bit better, and her beautiful face became more relaxed. Aunt Qing, quickly eat some, if not you will get hungry. It was irrational to rob the Bai clan. After all, Bai Ci was very eccentric. There was also Wang Debao, the king of luck. Shao Yi slowly closed his eyes and said, it seems like they plan to wash my Shao family in blood. Big brother Shao, the Xianyuan sword is a hot potato now. As long as you don't have the Xianyuan sword, they won't do anything to you. After all, their target is the ancient godly item, not Big brother Shao. Shao Yi opened his eyes, revealing a deathly aura. Wushuang, what do you think Big brother should do? That was what he wanted to hear. Tang Wushuang's body slightly leaned forward, and it could be seen just how much he longed for it right now. This minute movement was seen by Shao Yi very clearly. Big brother Shao, now all the small clans and rich merchants have announced that they are staying away from you. The situation is very bad. If you trust Wushuang, you can give the Xianyuan sword to Wushuang for safekeeping. Wushuang will definitely protect you. In actuality, Tang Wushuang had thought of many kinds of methods. Not only would he be able to obtain the Xianyuan sword, but he would also be able to not destroy the friendship between them. This was the only method he could try. However, when the time came, he would definitely be lectured by his master. If it was 10 days ago, Shao Yi might have handed over Xianyuan's sword without holding anything back, but now, that was impossible. He could even see the intention of this brotherly man. The Xianyuan sword was an ancient godly item, there was no need to talk about its might. For it to be able to contend against the death mage's scythe of death, it was even able to leave a dent in the scythe of death. From this, it could be seen just how powerful the Xianyuan sword was. Who wouldn't want to possess such an ancient godly item? If the aristocratic families didn't set a limit on the number of ancient godly items that they could possess, they would have come to snatch it long ago. Among all swords, the Xianyuan sword was the king. It was an ancient godly item that even aristocratic families wanted to possess. Tang Wushuang's words were indeed pleasant to hear. He said that he would temporarily keep it for safekeeping. Most probably, once he went there would be no possibility of him taking it back. Xiao Yi sighed and said, Wushuang, back then when I snatched this Xianyuan sword, it was fortunate that you were there to help me restrain the enemy. Hearing what Xiao Yi said, Tang Wushuang was delighted in his heart. But the Xianyuan sword is the symbol of our Xiao family. The Xiao clan is no longer the Xiao clan. Wushuang, you should understand what I mean. Xiao Yi didn't want to point it out. He only wanted Tang Wushuang to give up on the thought of snatching the Xianyuan sword. If that's the case, then we can still continue being brothers. However, Tang Wushuang didn't think so. Chapter 220. Xiao Yi let out a deep sigh and squeezed out a smile. Thank you for your concern, Brother Ling Tian. My injuries won't heal in a short time. Ling Tian let out a heavy sigh. Brother Xiao, this won't do. I've received news that the Cloud sect in the south has been defeated. The Southern Alliance. Guang family. He's already on his way. After Xiao Yi heard this, he said softly, Yun sect master Sun Fong, Southern Alliance's High Daisi, Guang clan's Guang Tianlu, they really think highly of our Xiao clan. Ling Tian grinned. Xiao Yi didn't have a source of information and didn't know about this. He said, Big Brother Xiao, the sect leader of the Cloud sect has changed. The current sect leader is Sun Yi. Sun Yi. Xiao Yi really didn't know. He wasn't in the mood to investigate the south. Ling Tian nodded his head and said, I'll have to start from the ancient godly item. The previous sect master of the Cloud sect, Sun Fong, had an affair with the black robe. Tainted black robe. Xiao Yi was very shocked. That black robe is a skeleton, and Sun Fong is a human, and furthermore, she is a proud woman of the south. How could she possibly have an affair with a skeleton? Does this skeleton have any special skills? This news has already been confirmed. On that day when we were fighting over the ancient godly item, the black robe had appeared with Sun Fong, and the actions of the two of them were especially alluring. This black robe is also an expert, to actually be able to woo the southern girl, Sun Fong. Speaking up to here, Ling Tian was also endlessly envious. That Sun Fong's appearance is top-notch. However, hearing that the black-robed man was so terrifying, this Sun Fong's brain must have been damaged. Sun Fong was overthinking things. Right now, she was very happy. She could play some games, poke some skeletons, and have a bunch of winners listening to her commands. This was much more interesting than being a sect master. Of course, the reason why she was able to obtain her current position was because of Yi Hua. It could be given, but it could also be taken back. This was the so-called deciding a person's fate with a single thought. Just like the current Xiao Yi, the reason why Yi Hua gave Xiao Yi his life was because he hoped that Xiao Yi would not receive his bento so quickly. Don't think that this is charity, this is Yi Hua's understanding of human nature. Okay, this is charity. His life was given by Yi Hua, so of course, he could take it back as well. It all depended on how strong Xiao Yi's comprehension was and whether he could achieve Yi Hua's goal in this crisis. Xu Nan and Yu Qi were also quite shocked. Everyone was present that day, and they had an innate fear of Black Robe. Now that they heard that Black Robe had an affair with a southern lady, their worldview was overturned. Skeletons and people. Humans and animals. Right now, Tang Wushuang didn't say anything. Although the Black Robe was powerful, his teacher had also said that he would be able to defeat the Black Robe. Therefore, there was nothing for him to worry about. However, there were a lot of things that Tang Wushuang didn't know. You know nothing of your enemy. However, he had no idea who the real enemy was. Xianyuan sword. This was just bait. 9 demons punishing tower. In Yihua's eyes, Wang Debao was just a black iron. The reason why Yihua threw Wang Debao to Wang Debao was because Wang Debao was a trustworthy person, and his main purpose was to frame Yihua. However, Wang Debao happily ran back to Yihua and fawned upon Yihua. All of this was under Yihua's control. If there wasn't a family dispute, I would definitely want to admire this process right now. After all, he was the one who directed it. How could he not appreciate his work? Xiao Yi on the main seat was silent. 3 from the south. There were 2 of them. And this was only on the surface. Who knew how many of them were hiding in the dark? It seemed like a bloody battle was going to happen today. At this moment, 3 silhouettes appeared in the sky, flying rapidly towards the Shao clan mansion. Swish swish swish. The 3 of them were precisely Sun Yi, Hai Daisi, and Guang Tianlu, who rushed over from the south. The 3 of them were fearless. After all, the higher-ups had given the order, other than the owner of the ancient godly item, no one is allowed to harm the 3 of them. Although it was the promise made by the aristocratic families in the north, who knows if the aristocratic families would make a move on the 3 of them. Therefore, the aristocratic families in the south didn't dare to rashly make a decision. However, some people liked to take risks. After the 3 of them landed, they cupped their hands towards Xiao Yi. Xiao family head, I trust that you have been well since we last met. Xiao Yi smiled lightly. Those who came are guests. Shu Nan, serve tea. The 3 of them pondered for a while and sat down to observe the situation. However, they didn't drink the tea. Who knows if the tea was drugged or not. Hai Daisi didn't want to be long-winded and went straight to the point. Xiao family head, I'm afraid that you already know the reason why we came here. Hand over Xianyuan's sword, and we can avoid a battle. What you all said is right, handing over Xianyuan's sword is indeed my choice, but I still want to take a gamble. Xiao Yi waved his hand and gestured to Shu Nan and Yu Qi to leave. However, they seemed to be very worried. Sun Yi snorted coldly, then said while looking at Xiao Yi, who was being injected with water, since Xiao family head insists on doing this, then don't blame us. Xiao Yi pulled out the needle and slowly stood up. Everyone was a big shot, and Xiao Yi's current state was very weak. One finger could poke him to death. It's not convenient to fight here. Everyone, follow me, Xiao Yi said indifferently and slowly flew out of Xiao family mansion. Everyone followed behind him and didn't make things difficult for him. After all, they were here to steal ancient god items, not to exterminate a family. Xiao Yi brought everyone to an open space. It was as if it had been baptized by an atomic bomb. It was clearly a forest, but there was not a single blade of grass growing within a few miles. This is the place where I fought against the black robe that night. Xiao Yi's words caused everyone to gasp. Hearing about it was just hearing about it, but seeing it in person was another feeling. It wasn't that the people here couldn't do it, but it was very difficult unless it was a life and death situation. It seemed that Xiao Yi was in a life and death situation that night, which also showed the power of Xianyuan's sword. Actually, the real battle wasn't the destruction of the scene, but the snap of a finger. All kinds of difficult and complicated diseases could be cured. The 3 of them were glad that Xiao Yi was in a sick state, or else it would have been a little troublesome. Xiao Yi clenched his fist and the golden Xianyuan sword appeared in his hand, emitting a dense aura. Seeing Xiao Yi take out the Xianyuan sword, the breathing of the 3 quickened. Compared to the 9 demons punishing pagoda, the Xianyuan sword was much more attractive. Tang Wushuang took a deep breath, then silently walked to the side, expressing his attitude. Xiao Yi took a look. He wasn't disappointed, but he felt pained. Ling Tian hesitated with a heavy expression, as though he was struggling with the devil in his heart. Ling Tian, I, Xiao Yi, don't regret being friends with you. It's time to make a choice. Xiao Yi used the Xinyuan sword to support his body. However, at this moment, Sun Yi's slender hand trembled, and a sharp sword appeared in her hand. With a fierce sword chi, she attacked Xiao Yi with a speed that would leave people speechless. Anyone who could become the Grand Master of the Cloud sect was no pushover. Xiao Yi's face sank. The wind from the sword energy caused Xiao Yi's clothes to flutter and his face to hurt. He gripped the Xinyuan sword tightly in his hand. Good timing. I, Xiao Yi, have been holding back my anger for far too long. The pain of losing my wife, the pain of begging others, every second is torturing me. This emperor has commanded the winds and clouds for 1,000 years, but I never thought that I would fall after my rebirth. Since that's the case, I shall let all of you experience the pain of angering an immortal emperor. However, just when Xiao Yi was about to move his sword, a large hand suddenly grabbed the sword. Ling Tian's weapons were all parts of his body. Xiao Yi looked at Ling Tian who was at the side, and Ling Tian looked at Xiao Yi with a smile. Chapter 221. In the face of imminent peril, Ling Tian did not find his conscience. Instead, he discovered that Xiao Yi was pretending. No wonder he was the act tough king. He was the one who taught him how to act tough in the past. Who would have thought that he would use this trick of pretending to be sick today? Amazing. He accepted this act of acting tough. With a shout, Sun Yi pulled out her sharp sword, causing sparks to fly in Ling Tian's palm. Brother Xiao. Today, we will fight with our backs against the wall. I do not wish to be born on the same day, but I wish to die on the same day. Ling Tian roared and a powerful aura spread out in all directions. Those who didn't know better would think that the two of them were gay friends. Ling Tian then patted Xiao Yi's shoulder. Don't worry, with me around, no one will dare to touch a single hair on Brother Zhao's head. He thought to himself, Brother Xiao will most probably be touched to death. That Tang Wushuang really doesn't have good eyesight. Brother Xiao is the act tough king, how could he let go of such a pretentious scene? Good brother. I'm going to take a break. Xiao Yi said in a deep voice, using the Xinyuan sword as a crutch. Brother Xiao, I'm not joking. Don't scare me. I've already boasted about it. Otherwise, I'll be slapping my face. Hi Dicey. Go and stall Ling Tian. Guang Tian rode. You and I will launch a pincer attack on Xiao Yi. Sun Yi shouted. Guang Tianlu frowned, and 3 cards instantly appeared on her slender fingers, radiating with a red glow. Ice Bone Dragon. As the 3 cards were thrown out, 3 ice bone dragons were instantly condensed. This kind of bone dragon was not ordinary. Its skeleton seemed to be made of ice and had sharp ice thorns. Roar! The 3 huge ice bone dragons faced the sky and roared. The bursts of dragon roars made people exclaim in admiration. Guang Tianlu threw out another 3 cards and imprinted them on the 3 ice skeletal dragons. Golden light flashed, and when the ice bone dragon reappeared, its skeleton was actually wearing a set of golden armor, looking very majestic. Coupled with its huge body, it was even more frightening. As expected of the Southern Guang family's patriarch. Crafty card player 6. Sun Yi was not to be outdone. Although the Cloud sect was known for their sword arts, the secret scripture that the Cloud sect had was not sword arts, but rather, Thousand Mountains Sovereign Guide. Chasing after Sun Yi let out a delicate shout, and a huge amount of spiritual energy gushed out from her body, covering the entire ground. Boom! With a muffled sound, a huge crack appeared on the ground, and a giant claw emerged from the ground. It was followed by another giant claw, then the head, and then the entire body. The aura he emitted made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. An ancient divine beast. Ling Tian let out a cry of surprise. This lady actually summoned an ancient divine beast. How was this possible? Not only was Ling Tian dumbfounded, apart from Sun Yi herself, everyone else was dumbfounded. To actually summon an ancient mythological beast, this should be the foundation of the Cloud sect. This woman was really willing to part with it. If the sect was not in a life and death situation, they would definitely not reveal their trump cards. Who would have thought that for the sake of an ancient godly item, they would even bring out an ancient divine beast? What a waste! Xiao Yi looked at the ancient divine beast in front of him with a solemn expression. This beast looked a bit like a Tyrannosaurus rex, but the difference was that it had 2 heads and 4 limbs. Its 4 eyes were even more frightening, they even contained a hint of confusion. The black scales on its body wriggled slowly, looking extremely disgusting. As expected of an ancient divine beast. Thousand Mountains Sovereign Guide. However, Xiao Yi had never seen Ing family's heavy dust before. Compared to heavy dust, this ancient divine beast was much skinnier, just like a newborn baby. For the 3 big shots to be able to hold their positions, they naturally had their own trump cards. However, Ing family's trump cards were all suppressed by Yi Hua's absolute strength. Big brother Xiao, quickly leave, I will take care of things here. Ling Tian's current appearance was just like a child who was asking for a red packet during Chinese New Year. At this moment, Xiao Yi's entire aura was ignited, and a powerful spiritual energy swept out like raging waves. Rumbling sounds rang out between heaven and earth. Immediately, dark clouds covered the sky, and thunder rumbled. Right now, Xianyuan's sword seemed to have sensed its master's anger, and a powerful sword chi burst out from it. The sword chi actually fused together with Xiao Yi's spiritual energy, and the huge amount of energy that was produced actually caused cracks to appear on the ice-bone dragon's armor. Tang Wushuang's face turned black. I didn't expect that Brother Xiao was pretending to be sick. He is actually fine, and his strength seems to be even more ferocious than before. Ling Tian, you step back, I will be fine alone. The current Xiao Yi seemed to have returned to the past, the time when he was in control of life and death. Ling Tian was overjoyed. Big brother Xiao is indeed starting to act cool, as expected of the act tough King Xiao. Hi Dicey, what are you still looking at? Sun Yi shouted. The current Xiao Yi seems to be much stronger than I imagined. But even at his peak, he didn't have this kind of strength. Of course, this was all thanks to Wei Chang's black fog. Not only did it save Xiao Yi's life, it also increased his strength. The current Xiao Yi should be able to play with Death Assassin. He still won't be able to face Death Mage, unless Death Mage goes for close combat again. As a big shot of the Southern Alliance, Hai Dicey definitely has the ability. Now that everyone has used their trump cards, I will also widen everyone's horizons. Hai Dicey can be seen drawing a spiritual formation in the air with his finger, then he slapped it down and shouted, everyone's invisibility technique. By you other than Xiao Yi and the other 2, all the humans and beasts disappeared. Xiao Yi's face sunk. This is not a simple invisibility technique, even their aura is hidden. The 3 big shots joining hands indeed gave Xiao Yi a headache. Xiao Yi summoned the black tortoise armor and said to Ling Tian who was beside him, I will remember today's favor, I will definitely repay you in the future. No need to be so polite, we are all family. Ling Tian had the intention to befriend Xiao Yi. If Xiao Yi managed to squeeze into the ranks of the aristocratic families, it would be good for his Ling family. Tang Wushuang who was at the side clenched his fists tightly. I didn't expect that I would be fooled by Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi, since you don't treat me as a brother, don't blame me for falling out with you. Xiao Yi who was on the battlefield held the Xianyuan sword in his hand and wore the black tortoise armor, looking exactly the same as when he fought against Death Mage. Immediately, a cold light came towards Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi hurriedly dodged, and when he turned around to look at the position he was at just now, it was filled with icicles. Without thinking too much, Xiao Yi dodged again, and the position he was at just now actually became a deep hole. Since I can't see it, then I will break it. Heaven's punishment sword formula, void break. Xiao Yi could be seen stabbing the Xianyuan sword into the ground, and the ground immediately started to boil like boiling water. A wave of spiritual energy started to gather in the Xianyuan sword. Boom! With Xiao Yi as the center, a wave of golden light spread out in a circular shape, and Sun Yi and the others who just disappeared were all revealed. Hai Daisy cried out involuntarily, "You actually broke my special ability." Xiao Yi looked at Hai Daisy and sneered, "There is no special ability that the Xianyuan sword cannot break. Next, I will let all of you witness the might of the Xianyuan sword." Xianyuan art, illumination. The Xianyuan sword instantly floated up into the sky, and Xiao Yi who was below immediately made a hand seal. The spiritual energy on his body became denser and denser, and within this spiritual energy, there was also a trace of black fog which was not very eye-catching. Puchi! Xiao Yi's face sunk, and he slowly lowered his head. A dagger that was emitting a cold light pierced through his chest, and the blade of the dagger was still dripping with his own blood. When he turned around to take a look, it was actually Tang Wushuang. Xiao Yi had calculated everything, but he didn't expect that Tang Wushuang would actually kill him. Sneak attack. Chapter 222. The sudden sneak attack stunned everyone. Everyone knew that the relationship between Xiao Yi and Tang Wushuang wasn't bad. Even if the relationship between Xiao Yi and Tang Wushuang had fallen out, it wouldn't be to the extent of sneak attacking Tang Wushuang from behind, right? After all, sneak attacking Tang Wushuang in this kind of situation wasn't a glorious thing. With Tang Wushuang's way of doing things, even if he managed to obtain the Xianyuan sword, he would still fail the aristocratic family's evaluation. There was a problem with the family head's way of doing things. Right now, Tang Wushuang's gaze was no longer on the Xianyuan sword, he only wanted to kill this ungrateful brother of his. Tang Wushuang! Ling Tian shouted out angrily. He punched out with a ferocious momentum, and the vigorous spiritual energy turned into a giant golden fist. Tang Wushuang's expression turned serious. Pulling out his dagger, he clenched his right hand into a fist and actually punched towards the huge fist. Don't forget, Tang Wushuang is also very strong. Otherwise, the sneak attack wouldn't have gone so smoothly. He wasn't called the king of soldiers for nothing. Boom boom boom. A series of loud explosions rang out, and waves of astonishing spiritual energy swept out in all directions, causing everyone to exclaim in admiration. Sun Yi, Hai Daisy, and Guang Tianlu were delighted. This Tang Wushuang could be said to have helped them a lot. The Xianyuan sword in the sky lost control of Xiao Yi and stabbed straight into the ground. Sun Yi was the first to react, and she dashed towards the Xianyuan sword. Hai Daisy and Guang Tianlu who were at the back came back to their senses. They scolded him for being shameless and hurriedly rushed forward. Right now, Xiao Yi was forced back and powerlessly fell to the ground. Blood was gushing out from his chest, but if one looked at his body, they would see a black mist slowly healing. However, Xiao Yi's gaze was fixated on Tang Wushuang's back view. He didn't dare to believe that Tang Wushuang would do such a thing. Sun Yi's speed was extremely fast. She grabbed the hilt of the Xianyuan sword with her delicate hand and pulled it out fiercely. She laughed wildly and said, "The Xianyuan sword belongs to me, Sun Yi." Just as Sun Yi was rejoicing, the three ice-bone dragons charged at Sun Yi fiercely. Sun Yi snorted coldly and waved the Xianyuan sword in her hand. Suddenly, a golden light bloomed, and the 3 icebone dragons were forced to retreat. Guang Tian roared. What are you trying to do? Sun Yi questioned coldly. Sect Master Sun, it's not appropriate for you to snatch it away just like that. Guang Tianlu's calm face revealed his anger. Sun Yi laughed delicately. Guang Tianlu, when we came here, we already agreed that this Xianyuan sword would belong to whoever snatches it first. Hai Daisi. What are you standing there for? Grab the sword. Guang Tianlu shouted at Hai Daisi, who was standing at the side. Another card appeared in his hand, and the 3 icebone dragons started to fuse. Their bodies fused together and transformed into 3 icebone dragon kings. Hai Daisi's expression was solemn, his hands quickly forming a seal, coldly shouting, Ice roar. Huge blocks of ice instantly appeared around Sun Yi, and the surrounding temperature plummeted. Each block of ice contained a vast amount of spiritual qi. Sun Yi, who was in the middle of the formation, was facing the attacks of the 2 great forces. It seemed that she was not at ease. After all, she had just obtained the Xianyuan sword and did not have the time to decipher its mysteries. Under Guang Tianlu's control, Icebone Dragon King spewed out 3 streams of ice flame. Suddenly, the sky was covered with ice, and the sky that was originally covered with dark clouds was suddenly filled with a blizzard. Hai Daisi. Guang Tian roared. My Yun sect is irreconcilable with you. Hai Daisi sneered, Sun Yi. If you obediently hand over the Xianyuan sword, you can still be the sect leader. Otherwise, don't even think about it. The ancient divine beast at the side let out a loud roar, and the might of a divine beast attacked towards the 2 of them without holding back. The scales on its body actually left its body and flew towards the 2 of them like a swarm of bees. Hai Daisi and Guang Tianlu's expression tensed up, and they immediately used their martial arts to defend themselves. However, were the scales on the body of the ancient divine beast fake? Obviously not, and the 2's defense was instantly destroyed. As expected of Yun Sect's foundation, it cannot be underestimated. Guang Tianlu had no choice but to control Icebone Dragon King to attack the ancient divine beast, and the pressure on Sun Fang instantly decreased by a lot. Hai Daisi. Go and die. Sun Fang used the Xianyuan sword in her hand to break through the formation, and pointed the sword at Hai Daisi. Hai Daisi was only a long-range metahuman, and he did not have strong close combat abilities like Death Mage. Thus, he could only choose to dodge. The 2 of them started a chase. Sun Yi was like a shrew, slashing with the Xianyuan sword, while Hai Daisi was like a bullied husband, dodging in all sorts of ways. Sun Fang, who was chasing after Hai Daisi, suddenly frowned. She felt a sense of danger. A silver needle that was flickering with a cold light pierced into the back of Sun Yi's hand, and she instantly felt numb. The Xianyuan sword in Sun Yi's hand fell onto the ground once again. A black silhouette passed through the air, and the Xianyuan sword that was on the ground instantly disappeared. The 3 of them stopped attacking each other at the same time and looked at the 2 people who were walking over from the sky. The back of Sun Yi's hand quickly turned purple. Chapter 223. Longtan City, Leisure Bar. 10 minutes ago, Yi Hua was currently sitting on the sofa in his bedroom with both of his legs placed on the coffee table and silently smoking. The family conflict caused Yi Hua to suffer unspeakably. Both of my hands are flesh, what choice do I have? Impossible, how can I give up my woman? Even if I die, I have to pull her up and continue to be my woman. But these 2 women are really annoying. One wants to split the child, the other would rather die than submit. How can their personalities be so unyielding? They don't have the gentleness that a woman should have. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Suddenly, Wei Chang appeared behind Yi Hua and shouted out respectfully. What's the matter? Yi Hua asked faintly. Hearing his honor's tone, I can tell that his mood isn't very good. I am also very depressed. Xiao Tang is ignoring me today. How can Tang Wei not be angry? We can clearly live together, but suddenly, two non-mainstream people appeared. Uncle Wei's male chauvinism is too serious. Wei Chang said lightly, Your Honor, subordinates said that I left a bit of aura on Xianyuan's sword for Your Honor to play with, and now, the time is ripe. Oh, that Xiao Yi is going to die again. Yi Hua asked faintly. The situation isn't very optimistic, but he can still keep his life. Yi Hua shook his head. Seems like I overestimated this Xiao Yi. He can't even kill a few people. It is precisely because of this that his honor is able to play around. After all, his honor's mood isn't very good these few days. Killing a few people can relieve your mood. Wei Chang bowed his body and laughed lightly. As a subordinate, I have to make my boss happy. If I were to use this kind of effort to treat Tang Wei would probably be touched to death and directly push Wei Chang down. Yi Hua sighed, but his mood isn't very good. I'll just play around then. Wei Chang, it seems like you understand me well. Then, subordinate will not disturb his honor's fun anymore. I will take my leave. After finished speaking, Wei Chang disappeared from the bedroom. Yi Hua waved his hand, then began searching for the aura that Wei Chang left behind. Very quickly, he found it. There aren't many people here, killing them won't be of any use. That Xiao Yi is just like a salted fish that is lying on the ground. I am truly disappointed. Yi Hua could be seen raising his hand and stretching out his index finger, intending to control Xianyuan's sword from a distance. This Xianyuan's sword actually dares to resist, interesting, but in front of me, Xianyuan's sword. In just a few moments, Yi Hua had already infiltrated into the interior of Xianyuan's sword. Right now, Yi Hua was lying on the sofa with his eyes closed, and his index finger was slowly moving, as if he was recalling something, recalling those people's terrified expressions. At the venue. Right now, everyone didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. Ling Tian, who was guarding Xiao Yi and fighting intensely with Tang Wushuang, also stopped when he saw this scene. The Xianyuan sword tossed Fu Xiu into the air. Yi Hua's index finger lightly moved, and at the same time, Xianyuan's sword drew out rays of golden light in the air. Fu Xiu's limbs were amputated in the air, turning into pieces that fell to the ground. It was a chilling scene. Tang Wushuang wasn't in a hurry to think. If he didn't run now, the one who would die later on would be him. Yi Hua closed his eyes and said coldly, trying to run. No one will be able to escape today. Just like Fu Xiu, Tang Wushuang's abdomen was pierced through and brought back. However, Tang Wushuang didn't die, but rather, he was thrown onto the ground. Ling Tian swallowed his saliva. I've tested Tang Wushuang's strength just now, and he's even more powerful than before. However, he was still pierced through by the Xianyuan sword. Could it be that it's still Xiao Yi? He pretended to be sick again, but he was actually controlling the Xianyuan sword to kill people. Act tough, King Xiao, stop pretending. I know it's you. Ling Tian shook Xiao Yi, but Xiao Yi didn't react. Everyone at the scene knew that whoever ran would die. Even Song Huang descended from the sky and stared at the Xianyuan sword cautiously. Shua! The Xianyuan sword disappeared again, and when it reappeared, it was followed by 20 to 30 people, all of whom had lost an arm. Song Huang furrowed his brows. These people were all the higher-ups of the northern forces. It seemed like they were all hiding at the side, observing the situation, or waiting for the right moment to snatch the treasure. Unfortunately, he was too unlucky. Right now, Xianyuan's sword was just like a big brother, looking down at these people and fluttering back and forth along with Yi Hua's finger. Sage Doctor, what should we do now? This sword is very strange. One of the people in the group asked gravely. Song Huang shook his head and didn't say anything. Right now, Xianyuan's sword was like a kidnapper, and I and the others were like hostages. Whether we live or die would be decided by a single thought from Xianyuan's sword. If Xianyuan's sword wanted to run away, Xianyuan's sword would pierce through his heart. Although Tang Wushuang didn't die right now, he wasn't far from death. Alliance Master Hai, are you alright? Guang Tianlu asked weakly. Hai Daisy had already stopped bleeding, but his face was pale. I'm alright, how about you? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.